In 1926, George Samuel Clayson published a series of parables that was set in the ancient city of Babylon. The book that collected these fables, The Richest Man in Babylon, is now considered a classic of economics. If you've never read the book, you'll be blown away by the tried and tested lessons it presents for accumulating wealth and riches. Bonsai, a charioteer introduced here, and Kabi, a musician, set the scene for the tale. While they had both achieved the pinnacle of their field, they remained financially destitute. Arkad was the richest man in Babylon, and despite spending lavishly and giving generously to charity, he seemed to have an endless amount of gold, and his wealth kept growing. So the two friends set out to seek his counsel and advice. So Arkad told his two friends a story. Actually, he told the scribe that he was once a poor man himself, but that he had struck a deal with a wealthy individual to learn the key to becoming wealthy, in exchange for his work on a clay inscription. The wealthy individual agreed and taught him a priceless lesson. According to what he had to say, "I found the road to wealth when I decided that a part of all I learned was mine to keep. You will, too." This is a fundamental truth upon which the fortunes of every wealthy person have been built. All of their assets are frozen. The richest man in Babylon didn't get there by blowing through cash faster than he could earn it. Rather, he became prosperous by setting aside 1/10 or 10% of his income and investing it in secure, long-term ventures. The first rule of gold is to save and invest 10% of your income. In the book, it is stated that if a man sets aside at least 10% of his income to build an estate for his future and that of his family, gold will come gladly and in increasing quantities. This rule is related to the concept of paying yourself first, which is well known to the wealthy. Putting your own money first is a responsible step toward financial independence. Many people always seem to be moaning about having so little cash on hand. No matter how much I earn or save, they always complain that I have no money left over at the end of the month, or that my job simply isn't paying me enough. Nonetheless, you make some good points. Most people's so-called priorities, like eating out once a week or going out on the weekend, are not necessary expenditures at all, but instead take a significant toll on their income statement if they take the time to do a thorough assessment of where their money is going. Instead, you should set aside 10% of your income every month as soon as you get paid, before you pay any of your monthly expenses such as rent, utilities, your mortgage, or even Netflix. You might fare better if you initiate action without delay. Also, your savings and investments will grow. With compounding and growth, you'll be able to watch your savings grow even more quickly. However, you won't be as worried if a serious financial emergency like a major medical bill, costly car repair, or worst-case scenario job loss does occur. The second golden rule is to put your money to work for you. According to the book, gold is a willing worker who will toil away diligently and contentedly for the shrewd owner who gives it gainful employment, growing in number as surely as the flocks of the field. He was able to keep his spending under control and distinguish between necessities and luxuries. Because the richest man in Babylon had a head start in understanding the value of money and how to put his wealth to work for him, quite a few people have trouble telling them apart. A simple rule of thumb applies when it comes to the finer things in life. Don't spend money on something you don't need. As your savings grow, it really is that easy. You can begin actively seeking out potentially lucrative and secure investment opportunities. There are many ways you can invest your money, such as real estate, stocks, bonds, businesses, and so on. Investing your money overseas can be compared to sending tiny soldiers to battle in hopes of bringing home a spoil. The greater your army size, the greater the bounty and loot your soldiers will return with. The third law of gold states that you should only make large investments after careful consideration, and after being completely confident in the return on your investment. Before putting your money down, make sure you've sought out advice, or as I like to put it, wisdom. The book recommends a gold clinic for the safety of the investor who followed the counsel of experienced men. The money is yours because you earned it, right? Plus, you shouldn't shed any monetary tears. What makes you think you can rely on your own inexperience to make wise financial decisions? What you describe as typical behavior for many people in lower and even higher socioeconomic brackets. They put their money down based on hearsay or secondhand information they picked up from family, neighbors, coworkers, the news, or the radio. What always eventually happens is they lose their money or what they thought was a sound solid investment was actually a scam. Very rarely would you hear that the investments were successful or that they made any money. Before making a substantial financial commitment, the wealthy typically consult with experienced advisors. No more than you'd let a chef operate on your heart. You shouldn't let people who aren't financially savvy tell you how to spend or invest your hard-earned cash. For this reason, I now present the fourth rule of gold. When a person invests gold in ventures or causes with which he is unfamiliar or which are not approved by those skilled in its keep, the gold is lost. My buddy John will serve as a perfect example, I believe. In John's case, after a year of applying the first law of gold, he has amassed a healthy nest egg of $10,000. Therefore, John, who is a friend of mine, is a fairly bright person. Every year, he reads a few books and watches a few hours of TV and YouTube videos on his favorite topic: investing and making money. Like I said, John is a bright guy, but he does have one major flaw when it comes to financial investments. One could say it's his Achilles heel. John and many low-income people subscribe to this type of investment when they hear about a good investment opportunity advertised on TV or the radio. That's all been said to you before. When it comes to real estate, this is one chance you can't pass up, and this stock is too big to fail to invest in. About 2 months later. True or false? Investing in general is governed by a single, easy rule. Do not invest in something you do not fully understand, and if you need help deciding, consult men who are skilled at managing and growing their wealth, as the third law suggests. This is what John should have done instead of gambling his money away on unsound stock and property investments. Instead of looking for someone who is unsuccessful in real estate or stock investing, he should have sought out and listened to the advice of someone who is successful in these areas. My buddy John has no more money in the bank and is officially broke. His current state of despair is temporary, however. Somehow, he comes up with a brilliant scheme to make up for his financial misfortune. To top it all off, he thinks his plan is brilliantly straightforward and sneaky. Absolutely not. John is planning a trip to Sin City. He was able to recoup his losses in the gambling metropolis by placing a few wagers on winning games. With absolute certainty, he believes he can recoup his investment and then some. Which leads me to the fifth rule of gold. When a person puts their faith in their own inexperience and romantic desires and investments, rather than in the tried and true advice of experts, or when they listen to the tempting advice of con artists, gold will flee. In John's attempt to recoup his losses, he reasoned that betting would be the quickest and most surefire method. Some people do, on occasion, win large sums of money at the casino. My friend John had a very unlucky year, but he did manage to pick up 2 valuable life lessons. The first rule of Vegas is that whatever happens there stays in Vegas, and the second is that there is no easy way to get rich. The premise of the book is that every wealthy person has followed the same set of habits that Cod taught his friends in order to become wealthy themselves. Millions of people have benefited from these guidelines and used them to improve their financial situations. In addition, I think you can use these guidelines as the cornerstone of a solid financial future. Please enjoy the next episode, and I appreciate your attention.